My husband slapped me in front of his friends and everyone just stood there watching. He thought I was powerless. What he didn't know was one phone call later his entire life would be over. Story STARTS, my name is Emily Carter. And this is the story of the night my husband lost everything. I met Jason about 2 years ago. He was everything people admire, confident, successful, charming, the kind of man who walks into a room and instantly owns it, and me. I was just a normal, quiet, independent, working a regular job, living a simple life. At least that's what everyone thought. Jason pursued me hard, flowers, gifts, fancy dinners. He made me feel like I mattered, like I was special. And for the first time in a long time, I believed someone actually cared about me. 6 months later, we got married. Everyone said I was lucky. Emily, you hit the jackpot. Jason's the kind of guy women dream about. I smiled. I nodded. I played the part, but no one knew what happened after the wedding because that's when everything changed. It started small, little comments, little criticisms. You're wearing that? Why do you talk like that? You're embarrassing me. At first I laughed it off. I thought maybe he was joking, but he wasn't. The jokes turned into insults. The insults turned into anger, and slowly the man I married disappeared. In his place was someone colder, someone controlling. You don't go out without telling me. Don't talk to those people again. I don't like your attitude. And somehow I started adjusting. I stopped arguing, stopped defending myself, stopped being me. Because I kept telling myself, this is marriage, you work through things, you don't just walk away. But deep down, I knew something wasn't right. Then came the night everything broke. Jason had invited his friends over, a small gathering. Drinks, music, laughter. I did everything right, cooked, cleaned, smiled, played the perfect wife. I even wore the dress he liked. For a moment it almost felt normal, until it didn't. One of his friends made a joke, something harmless. I laughed, and that's when Jason looked at me, not with love, not even with irritation, with anger. What's so funny? He snapped. The room went quiet. I started. Don't talk over me, he said sharply. I froze. Everyone was watching now. I didn't mean anything, I said softly. And then, without warning, he slapped me right there in front of everyone. The sound echoed in the rooms. No one moved, no one spoke. My cheek burned, my vision blurred. And for a second, I felt like I wasn't even there, like I was watching it happen to someone else. Jason leaned closer and whispered, "Don't ever embarrass me like that again." That's when something inside me snapped, not loudly. Not dramatically, just quietly, like a switch flipping. I straightened up, slowly. And for the first time, I didn't look scared. I looked at him right in the eyes and I said, "Don't touch me again." He laughed, actually laughed. "Oh yeah. And what are you gonna do about it?" The room was still silent, tense. Everyone was waiting, but not for me. They were waiting to see what he would do next, because in their minds he had all the power, but they were wrong. I reached into my pocket and pulled out my phone. Jason smirked. "What you calling 911 now?" I didn't answer. I just dialed a number I had avoided for a long time. The phone rang once, twice. Then, "Emily," just hearing his voice changed everything. "Dad," I said quietly, "I need you." There was a pause, a dangerous one. "Where are you?" he asked. "At Jason's house." Another pause. "I'll be there in 20 minutes. The call ended. Jason shook his head, smiling. "This is unbelievable," he said to his friends. "She's calling her daddy." A few of them laughed nervously, but I didn't say anything. I just looked at him because I knew something he didn't. This wasn't going to end the way he expected. 20 minutes later, we heard cars outside, not just one, multiple, engines shutting off, car doors opening. Jason frowned. "What the hell?" He walked toward the window. And the moment he looked outside, his expression changed. Confusion turned into shock, then fear. "No way," his voice dropped. That's him." I stood up slowly. My heart was calm now, steady. Because I knew this was the moment everything would change. The front door opened. Heavy footsteps entered the house, and then he walked in. My father, tall, calm, powerful, the kind of man people don't question. The kind of man Jason worked for. Jason stepped back immediately. Sir, I didn't know." My father raised his hand, silencing him instantly. Then he looked at me. And when he saw my face, the mark, the pain, his expression darkened. "Who did this?" he asked. His voice was quiet, controlled, but terrifying. I didn't say a word. I just looked at Jason, and that was enough. Jason's legs almost gave out. "Sir, I swear I didn't mean." my father stepped closer, and in that moment everyone in the room understood something. Jason wasn't powerful, he never was, he just messed with the wrong woman. The room felt different now, heavy, like the air itself had turned against Jason. He stood there frozen, staring at my father like he had just seen a ghost. Sir, I didn't know she was your daughter," Jason stammered. My father didn't respond immediately, he just looked at him. Calm, cold, controlled, and somehow that silence was worse than yelling. "You didn't know," my father repeated quietly. Jason swallowed hard. "I swear, sir, if I had known," my father took one step closer. "And if you did know, you wouldn't have hit her." Jason opened his mouth but no words came out, because there was no right answer. My father nodded slowly. "That's what I thought." The room was completely silent now, no one dared to move, not his friends, not even Jason. Then my father turned to me. "Emily," he said softly, "are you okay?" That question broke something inside me. Not in a weak way, but in a way that made me realize I didn't have to stay strong anymore. "I am now," I said. He nodded, then his expression changed again, back to cold, back to powerful. He turned to the men standing behind him. "Make a call." One of them stepped forward immediately, already dialing. Jason panicked. "Sir, please, there's no need for this. We can fix this. I'll apologize. You think this is about an apology?" my father interrupted. Jason froze. "This is about respect," my father continued. "And you lost that the moment you raised your hand." Jason's voice started shaking. "You don't understand, I was just angry, and she's your wife," my father cut in sharply. "Not your punching bag." That hit harder than anything else. Jason looked around the room, at his friends, but no one stepped in, no one defended him, because now they understood who they were dealing with. Within minutes, Jason's phone started ringing, once, twice, 3 times. He looked down at the screen, his face went pale. "It's my boss," he whispered. I didn't say anything, he answered the call. "Hello. Sir, I can explain." He didn't get the chance. Yes, sir, I understand," his voice cracked. "No, please, this is a misunderstanding." Then silence. The call ended. Slowly, he lowered the phone. I just lost my job," he said quietly. No one reacted, because it wasn't over yet. Another phone call came in, this time his bank, then another, and another, each call taking something away from him, his power, his control. His image, everything he thought made him untouchable, was disappearing right in front of him. This isn't fair," he said, his voice breaking. I finally spoke. "Was it fair when you hit me?" He looked at me, really looked at me. For the first time, not as someone beneath him, but as someone he had completely underestimated. "Sorry," he said, "I didn't mean it." I shook my head slowly. "That's the problem," I said. "You never mean it, but you still do it." Tears filled his eyes. "Please, Emily, don't do this." I took a step back. "No," I said calmly, "you did this." The room felt colder now, final. My father stepped beside me. "Let's go," he said. I looked around one last time. At the house, the people, the life I thought I had, and I felt nothing, no fear, no sadness, just peace. As I walked toward the door, Jason's voice echoed behind me. "Emily, please. I love you." I stopped. For just a second, then I turned slightly without looking back. "Love doesn't hurt like that," I said, and then I walked out, ending final message for audience. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is walk away, and sometimes the people who think you're weak just haven't seen your strength yet, because respect isn't optional, and the moment someone forgets that, they lose everything. I thought it was over, I really did. Jason had lost everything, his job, his reputation, his power, and I walked away without looking back. For the first time in months, I felt free. Days passed, then weeks. I moved into my father's house. Quiet, peaceful, safe, no shouting, no fear, no pretending, just silence and healing. But healing isn't instant. There were nights I couldn't sleep, moments where I replayed everything in my head, the slap, the humiliation. The way everyone just stood there and watched, and sometimes I blamed myself. Why didn't I leave sooner? Why did I stay quiet for so long? But my father once told me strength isn't about never breaking, it's about knowing when to stand back up. And slowly I did. I started rebuilding my life. I went back to work, started focusing on myself again. And for the first time, I wasn't living for anyone else. Then one day, something unexpected happened. I got a message from Jason. I stared at the screen for a long time. Part of me wanted to ignore it, but another part wanted closure, so I opened it. "I'm sorry," that's all it said, no excuses, no long explanation, just 2 words. I didn't reply. Because some apologies come too late. A few days later, I saw him again, not in person, online. Someone had posted a video, Jason sitting in a small office, looking completely different, no confidence, no arrogance. Just a man who lost everything. And in that moment, I didn't feel anger, I didn't feel revenge, I felt nothing because he didn't matter anymore, and that's when I realized something important. Moving on is the real victory. Not revenge, not destruction, peace. But just when I thought the story had ended, life had one more twist waiting for me. A few weeks later, my father called me into his office. "Emily," he said, "there's something I need to tell you." His tone was serious, and for a second I felt that old fear again. "What is it?" I asked. He looked at me carefully. "I stayed out of your life because you wanted a normal life." I nodded. "But now," he continued, "I think it's time you knew the truth." My heart started racing. "What truth?" He paused. Then said, "You're not just my daughter, you're the one who's going to take over everything." I froze. "Take over what?" He looked at me with pride. "My entire business." My mind went blank. The same business Jason worked for. The same power he thought he had was never his, it was mine, and suddenly everything made sense. Why my father stayed quiet, why he let things unfold. He wasn't just protecting me, he was preparing me for this moment. For who I was meant to become. I took a deep breath. And for the first time, I didn't feel like a victim. I felt powerful, not because of my father, but because I survived, because I stood up, because I walked away. And as I looked out the window at the city in front of me, I smiled, not out of revenge, but out of strength, because the girl who stayed silent was gone, and the woman who replaced her was unstoppable. And the next time someone thinks you're weak, just remember, they might be messing with the wrong person.